So it was our 26th anniversary. Actually, as we record this today, it is. But
that we've been doing these shows.
Yes.
Since the late 50s at the Tropicana.
That's right. And Stephanie and I celebrated our 26th anniversary.
Oh, that's lovely.
Last night, and I decided to hire a gondola to ferry her around with me in a place called Irving, Texas, not too far from Dallas. You might think that there are no gondolas in Irving, Texas, but in fact there are, and there's kind of this business park / residential area development that has a lake that they probably created with their own bare hands, and anyway, so we're gondoling around this thing, and the kid who's driving the gondola puts some music on this little Bluetooth speaker, and the first song on this romantic night out in the gondola is "Love on the Rocks." Ain't no big surprise.
At least she didn't say "Baby Got Back."
I kid you not. And after a while, we listened to 2 or 3 more songs on his mix of romantic music. And I thought he's probably back there fondling a revolver because his girl just left him. But so eventually I said, "Hey, can you possibly play like a Nat King Cole station or something like that?"
Yeah.
And then immediately we got, "L is for the way you look at me." And things got a lot better from then. But then in the middle of it, he turned off the music, and we're out in the middle of the lake, and all of a sudden he starts singing. And just belting out songs. And one of the songs he did was like that song from Cats, a musical I've never seen. But
it's awful.
That's right. He did it with this very deep vibrato kind of. So he's going like, "Memories."
All right. Okay, I have to go off on a mini rant here. Cats is a horrible stage show. It might just
soon
be
to
that
be a major theatrical production, by the way.
Yeah, it may just be that I can't stand Andrew Lloyd Webber's stuff, and that's probably part of it. But I saw it when I was in high school. There's absolutely nothing cat-like about the staging. The songs are treacly and awful, and I just hated it. And if you've seen the trailer for the movie version, they figured out a way to make this thing even worse, and that and that is to CGI people into cats, and it's just
they're naked cats.
Yeah.
Did they really do that? Did they use CGI? They didn't use costumes or makeup?
They really did.
Correct.
And so you got
my Lord.
cats with boobs, and it's
I've got to see that.
The trailer
Taylor
is
Swift
the
does
most
not
frightening
have
thing I've ever seen.
What's that?
Taylor Swift does not have like 6 or 8 symmetrical breasts.
Is she in it?
In lines in the cat thing. She just looks like she has like a human body. She's like a minotaur or something.
Yeah, it's just freaky and wrong. The only way to save this movie is to completely redo the CGI into something less human-like and more cat-like, and then to burn all the digital copies anyway.
Now, Bill,
I saw a chorus line on Broadway in 1979, the original run of it.
Oh, wow.
I loved it.
That's a great
And
show.
then I saw the movie, and I thought, how can you make something so bad out of something so good? Some shows, a chorus line especially, are not meant to be movies. You can't make that show into a movie. You can't.
Steve used a word earlier, Bill, and I'm going to call upon your British heritage to define the word treacle.
Isn't treacle a kind of a dessert that's quite a bit like kind of eggy, like flan, like Mexican flan? Is that treacle?
I thought it was sweeter. Steve, do you know what it is?
It's just I don't know. I don't know
It's
it from
kind
the
of
British food because I like good food.
British food,
But
it's as I recall, it's kind of like a flan is kind of like it's like a custard. And flan is pretty runny and kind of nasty, and treacle is worse.
Well, it's taken the country by storm here, I can tell you, the British food. They just opened a new drive-through mutton place just around the corner here.
It's
still
appalling.
has some flavor. Better boil it some more.
You can get some jellied eels and some toad in the hole. Oh, yeah.
Ugh, I don't even know what that is, but it sounds disgusting.
It's not actually a toad, but it's probably worse. Jellied eels is a real thing.
You know, when Melissa and I decided to spend 2 weeks in London because we had to go to Great Britain for a wedding, people said, well, what are you going to do in London for 2 weeks? And I said, the same thing everybody else does. We're going to try and find good Italian food.
Yeah, we're going to live on Snickers bars.
Watch
I will
TV.
say, however, having grown up in Bermuda, that roast beef, we probably call that cut prime rib here in America, with the baked potato and a Yorkshire pudding is absolutely fabulous. Yorkshire
That is
pudding
good
is
stuff.
not a dessert; it's a pastry, and it's damn delicious.
Yeah. I'll vouch for that.
If they'll let me back into to the United Kingdom, I will ask about that. By the way, one other thing on a personal note, and I don't know if I shared this with our viewers yet, but I'm so excited. When my birthday was about a month ago, and for my birthday, we happened to stumble into an old toy store. And in the old toy store, my wife bought me two things. One is a gyroscope, which I have sitting on the shelf behind me here, which is just endless fun. And the other is a Slinky. Now, the Slinky, which is the most fantastic toy, here it is. So I got my Slinky here. Anyway, it's awesome until you get home to the house that you just moved into because, you know, the up and down the stairs was a little tiring. So you got a one-story house.
Now you got nothing you can slink.
And I can't do anything but this with the Slinky.
But that's still very satisfying.
It is.
You know, it's just funny you mentioned that because there's like an entire generation that knows exactly what that feels like in their hands. You can just feel it. I know exactly what it feels like. And then there's an entire another generation that just doesn't have a clue.
The sound. It's the sound.
The problem with the Slinky is it's a single point of failure toy. You know, you get one of those kinks in the Slinky, and you always
it's
do.
over. Yeah.
And it's over.
Nobody wants a kinky Slinky. That just makes it unusable.
It's an excellent name for a drink, though. Isn't it? The kind of thing that Steve would never drink.
I suspect that Steve saw Kinky Slinky warm up for Talking Heads at
I
CBGB
did.
in '78.
It was 78.
Grand
That was
Marinade
a good show.
and
9
and a
years
lot
old,
of
and
the
I
stuff
ran
they
that
use.
mosh pit.
It's like a Shirley Temple with a lot of tequila in it.
So not
I've
that we
heard
should be
things
about
about
the
Shirley
business of the people, but this is the backstage meeting for Right Angle where we plan this week's episodes of Right Angle, the show that you know and love, and some of you have been following something like
the
it
show that you know.
for about 10 years. We posted to the BillWhittle.com members-only blog to let folks know that there would be a production delay, and I want to, I'm double checking here to just make sure if I gave them accurate information, Bill, but Bill was off site, let's say, for a couple of days, and because of that, it necessitated me putting up this notice as soon as I get there. Man, this site is so slick. Oh my goodness, I can't believe some people don't get a chance. Okay, this was under Bill. You probably have not seen this because you were in a country that does not have internet. But under the headline, Whittle joins Waldo and Carmen Sandiego, production delayed. Programming note, this week's production schedule is still in flux as Bill Whittle has gone the way of Waldo and Carmen Sandiego. He's out there, Jer, but we don't know where. We do expect his imminent return, and so we've sold everything we have and are gathered at the top of a mountain directing our gaze skyward. We apologize for the delay in releasing this week's episodes of Right Angle Bill Whittle now and ask your indulgence with the knowledge that wherever he is, Bill Whittle is most certainly making the world a better place.
The only thing I would like to say about that is that the mothership is behind the comet. That's number one. And number two, Carmen Sandiego is just delightful, but Waldo's an ass. He's just so full of himself.
I have tried to meet him several times.
He wears that outfit to dinner at a nice restaurant, you know?
I've gone to several
And you know what everybody
gatherings.
says when he walks in? When he walks into a nice restaurant wearing those clothes like that? Everybody looks and goes, oh, there's Waldo.
There's Waldo.
And it's embarrassing. Just don't want to be a part of it, man. Bad scene.
I went to Lollapalooza, could not find him. I went to Burning Man, could not find him. I went to the Million Man March, could not find Waldo. I mean,
I got Pink Floyd's autograph.
They told me he was in there, but I did not see. You got Pink Floyd's autograph?
He signed it in pink.
That's right.
And it says
By the way,
Floyd.
which one's pink? So this week we get to I get to host the extra episode that is the member-sponsored gift to the world that used to be members only. And again, we thank the members at BillWhittle.com for making all of this possible, but specifically for their generosity in gifting this to humanity and humanity. And so I'm going to steal Steve Green's topic. See, Steve Green is the only one among the three of us who even had opportunity, let alone motive, to watch the first Democratic
A
debate.
paycheck was my motive.
Excuse me a second. I think I picked up a cold in the gondola. Anyway, so so what I would like to do, I got to read some stories in the New York Times, the Washington Post, and see some highlights of the first round, the first 10, the first tranche of the Democratic debates, primary debates, and I would like to talk about this idea, this divide between essentially Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren on the far left, and everybody else on the far middle left. And basically it seemed to break down. I wrote it several different ways to myself. I was like, this is pragmatism versus idealism, which is the way the mainstream media is positioning it. GOP light or utopian socialism. Let's see. Where is it here? Okay, go back to the pre-Trump normal or revolutionary systemic change. And so there seem to be some really sharp dividing lines within the Democratic field, at least in this first round of the debate. And it seems to me that these are almost irreconcilable differences. Somebody is going to have to give up their vision of a better tomorrow, or at least of a samer tomorrow.
As I have been saying for months, my master plan is proceeding precisely according to plan.
I love it when a plan comes together.
So now,
No, they're stuck.
Steve, I hope that wasn't your topic, although secretly I hope it was.
No, it wasn't.
Good. Sorry.
I love to disappoint you.
That's right. Anyway, so that's the first one I'd like to handle. And really, because by the time you see this, a second flight of debates will have transpired. I'm not going to really deal with so much the specifics, but just this kind of great divide in the Democratic Party. When it used to be, at least from the perception on the right, was that the Republican Party was tearing itself apart and the Democratic Party was always marching in lockstep. So we can deal with that when the opportunity presents itself as we record this episode. And then the other topic that I'd want to deal with is our buddy Elijah Cummings. And Elijah, I'm pulling up my little notes here. Elijah Cummings had some criticism for President Trump about the condition of border detention facilities, and then Trump, issued an executive order. I mean, he tweeted. So what some people have perceived, that's what passes for an executive order. President Obama had a phone and a pen. President Trump has an iPhone and a thumb, and he's
going to use it.
Yes. So President Trump tweeted out, Representative Elijah Cummings has been a brutal bully, shouting and screaming at the great men and women of the Border Patrol about conditions on the southern border, when actually his Baltimore district is far worse, all capitals, and more dangerous. His district is considered the worst in the USA. And then later on, he referred to it as a filthy, rat-infested place.
Oh, my God. Does this guy he just gets it. I mean, he's just
Elijah Cummings, you're saying?
No, Trump.
No, it's like he's the first guy I've ever seen with the guts to point out just how obvious this hypocrisy is, It's like pretty big of you to be talking about how tough things are in Border Patrol when your entire district is a living war zone hellhole. Who else has the forget the guts? Who else has the common sense to do that? I can't think of anyone. It's brilliant. Because that's the end of that argument. The same way that bringing 5 former assault victims into the second debate was the end of the war on women argument.
Well,
that's the end of the argument.
In this case, Bill, it kind of kicked off a whole new kerfuffle, as you might imagine.
Yes, it did. By the way, even so-called straight news organizations like the Associated Press are just freely branding Trump's tweet as racist, even though it had absolutely nothing to do with race.
Of course,
and everything to do with the actual conditions
being called
in that
racist.
district.
It's being called racist because he's speaking the truth about things.
Yeah.
And I saw a little meme. It was just great. It was like a lady behind Macy's, and she's got this little thing, and it says, "I'm so sorry, your race card has been declined. Do you have any other forms of argument?" And
That's beautiful.
yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
I wrote a piece a couple of weeks ago about the last time Trump went on Twitter and caused a commotion like this, and I started off by saying the three easiest ways to get Americans shouting at each other is a controversial call during a big playoff game, somebody bringing up politics on Thanksgiving after everybody has been drinking or traveling or both, or Donald Trump taking to Twitter by himself on a Sunday morning.
Yep.
I'm reading American Carnage by, I think his name is Tim Alberta. He was a Politico writer. And one of the things he talks about was how Trump's aides and associates, people who work for the president, and frankly, other people in his party in the legislative branch, would kind of heave a sigh of relief on Sundays because that's when the president played golf and left his phone behind. And however, they always hoped for good weather on Sundays so that he would be able to do so, and they would have a brief respite for a weekend.
Sweet.
Not the last 2 weeks. No way.
No. And apparently he didn't always abide by that. Like he found a way to play golf and to tweet sometimes. So Stephen Green, this is your moment in the sun. This is your moment to shine. Are you awake yet, by the way?
Oh, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm hurting. It's 8:37 here Mountain Time, a.m. of course. And, you know, I was up at my usual 5 a.m., stumble around, let the dogs out, grab some coffee, get to work. But I had such a busy day yesterday, and today is going to be just as bad, if not worse, because I'm taking my boys camping for 3 days. We leave bright and early tomorrow, and there's all the camping prep, the 2 nights of debates to drunk blog, and you want to file columns in advance so readers don't disappear while you're going on all the rest. So I'm just...
I feel like you should have said 2 nights of debates to drunk blog and Gilder to blame for it.
That's right. That would have been beautiful. I'm sorry I didn't do it. I'm always up for a Princess Bride reference. But so I have a real slender read to hang an entire segment on. But as I was
It's never stopped you before.
That's what the show's about, baby.
Right? As I was blogging the first night of the second round of Democratic debates, I had a really frightening thought that I think I'm just going to let you guys run with, and I'm going to clean up my thought for our family-friendly presentation here. And the thing that popped into my head about halfway through last night was, what if one of these jokers actually wins?
Jokers, that was a good choice of word.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, I went with jokers. That's not what I said in my head last night. I mean, we've got a really scary crew here, and I think on the one hand, it's good and smart that Trump has been forcing them to the Democrats to embrace their own radicalism, to expose them for what they are. But on election day, you never know what's going to happen. What happens if one of these jokers actually takes it? Yeah.
I'll tell you, I would I'm serious. If we were to lose in November of 2020. My hope would be if we were going to lose, we would lose to the most radical candidate that they have.
Bury the party, yeah.
Yeah, and just here's your socialism. You know, the worst thing is a Joe Biden win where things just slowly erode and the deep state continues their ongoing effort to make sure Americans vote the right way and so on. I think, look, I don't want to lose, and I don't think we're going to lose. But if we're going to lose, I want Americans to get the socialism they voted for, and I want them to get it right away. And sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes you have to burn your hand on the red hot iron before you figure out that red hot iron is hot and it hurts.
Bill, what is the historical antecedent to this wish of yours that doesn't end in a giant pool of blood?
Well, all of my best ideas end in a giant pool of blood. And as a matter of fact, that's kind of a metric by which I kind of come to my conclusions. I don't know. I don't know. All I know is since you asked off the top of my head, that in 150 BC, Gaius Gracchus decided that the no, I'm not. I'm serious. This is not a joke.
No, I love
150
this.
BC, Gaius Gracchus decided he was a Roman senator, and he decided to pander to people for votes, and he opened up the Roman storehouses of grain and just basically handed out free grain to everybody, and nobody worked. And 100 years after that, Cicero said, "We tried this with Gaius Gracchus, and it was a catastrophe."
Well, Gaius Gracchus' successor, Gludius Maximus, however, had quite a successful time.
Bill, you reminded me of the old Dana Gould, probably my favorite stand-up comedian, the old Dana Gould gag. Said, we all come into this world naked, bloody, and screaming, but if you know how to live right, it doesn't have to end there.
Okay, well, we'll see about that. Steve, you need to stick to mugs with larger print. I don't want to have to answer the questions from our viewers who say, what does it say on Steve's mug? Okay, so Bill Whittle, who has had nothing but 5 days to prepare for this moment. The stage is yours, my brother.
Thank you very much. I want to talk about something we've talked about many times before, but I actually kind of want to get into the kind of the brutal logic of it. I want to talk about Google Camp, where
yes.
I forget, somebody here did the math. It's
114 private jets.
Yeah, 114 private jets and yachts to go to this island to talk about global warming. Now, we've covered the hypocrisy angle of this before, and that's just something we're just going to do just for fun. But really, what I really want to talk about is just take this to its logical conclusion, okay? And what I think we need to do is we need to examine what seem to be the two possibilities here. One is that these guys actually believe in global warming, and the other one is that they don't. If they don't, then it's essentially a kind of an Illuminati meeting to talk about how this ongoing scam is going to control the populations of the world. And I suspect that's not the case. I suspect they really do believe it. But here's the point I'm trying to make. If they do believe it, how far out of touch with the entire planet are these people who determine our future? How far out of touch are they that they don't realize how this looks? I mean, how arrogant and confident do you have to be to fly 130 private jets to a global warming conference and not see how absurd this is? And furthermore, if you did believe it, if you really did believe it, and you had any connection to reality at all, wouldn't you want to have this thing someplace that would be accessible by a bus and ride your bicycle there or something? I mean, seriously, I'm not joking. If this were really, really the problem that you say it was, how could you possibly do something with these kind of optics? Glenn says he'll start treating it like a crisis when the people who call it a crisis start acting like it's a crisis. He's absolutely right about that. But I simply can't. I think the thing I want to talk about is not so much the global warming thing or even the hypocrisy of it. I really think that this, more than anything I've seen, demonstrates just how far off the planet these people are. Forget about their policies, right? I'm not even talking about their policies. I'm talking about the echo chamber that you have to be able to live in order to think that this thing is a good idea.
Wow.
I'll bet you a lot of it, and I'm not joking about this either, a lot of this is why all kinds of names are starting to crop up on Jeffrey Epstein's Lolita Express. All kinds of interesting names on the flight logs of those flights. And it's because these people don't think that they don't, it is an aristocracy. All of those bad defective genes had to go somewhere. They couldn't just be cleaned out of the gene pool, and all of those defective genes that make you want to be the Baron of this or the Earl of that, or the Rittermeister of this, little border crossing or whatever. It's still there, And these idiots really think that they know what's better for us than we do.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I can't wait to hear Katy Perry's take on carbon dioxide as a forcing element regarding water vapor uptake.
By the way, Katy Perry was just found by a judge to have stolen parts of a Christian rap song that was written a few years back, about a decade ago. And she's got a hit, I think, called Dark Horse or Dark Night or Darkness at the Edge of Dawn. I don't know what it is. Dark something. Anyway, apparently it's a ripoff of some sort of Christian praise song from an unknown artist. So I'm sure she's making amends for that even as we speak.
Well, it's her scientific input on the global warming issue that I'm most concerned about.
Katy Perry, qua scientist, is what you're saying.
I think it was an old SCTV sketch where they had Marilyn Monroe having, I think it was dinner with Albert Einstein. And if I recall the sketch correctly, just keeping up with him and helping him develop his theories over dinner. I wish I could remember the sketch better. It was genius.
It was I think I never get it quite right. I think it was Cole Porter and might have been Jean Harlow. It was in that general area. And Jean Harlow was at a party with Cole Porter, I think it was Cole Porter, and said, Cole, can you imagine what our child would be like if it had my looks and your brains? And he said, yes. But can you imagine the nightmare that would result if it had my looks and your brains?
Now,
something along those lines.
I forget which one of these Hollywood bombshells was actually a genius who developed something that was like a precursor. It made it possible for us to have the internet.
Yeah,
do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Hungarian. Her patents covered Wi-Fi. She worked on radar during World War II.
Gabors? One of the Gabors?
No. Hang on. This is going to kill me.
It's an old style Hollywood.
Invented Wi-Fi.
Not Greta Garbo. Not
Hedy Lamarr.
Hedy Lamarr. That's right. Hedley Lamarr.
It's Hedley.
It's Hedley.
Okay.
I miss Harvey Korman.
You don't get.
I miss Harvey Korman's
much
understated, characterizations. The way he loses himself in a character, and you don't even see Harvey Korman anymore once he disappears into a role. I do miss him. I thought he was awesome.
This is the Encyclopedia Britannica of internet shows, I would say, because the vast scope, not only the scope and breadth of what we cover, but the depth. I mean, it's up to a quarter of an inch deep into any given subject.
Very nearly.
So, vast amount of area and almost no volume.
The force that allows us to plumb those depths of intellectual enterprise are the folks who are members at BillWhittle.com. They are the ones who fund this. They are the ones who are watching it right now. And a sane person, a reasonable person might say, why produce like 4 or 5 videos a week that generate 20, 30,000? Our Area 51 video, Bill, has now generated it's pushing 100,000 views.
Wow.
Yeah. And so why do that and then create an episode that's going to get 263 views because it's reserved only for the Backstage audience? Normal, sane people would not do this. But not only are we committed to the membership at BillWhittle.com, we are committed to the most committed of the members at BillWhittle.com. Right. Yeah. Realizing that you are in marketing terms, you would be classified as the heavy users of our product, and therefore the vanguard that helps us to decide how to move forward.
Plus 263 people. I mean, we have a moral obligation because virtually all of them are either in medically induced comas or perhaps they're being held prisoners in basements where there's only a tinny sound coming from the next room or whatever the case may be. But we do not abandon those people.
And the important thing to remember is that they're in some kind of condition that prevents them from telling their credit card company to decline these charges every month. And we
What do all the-
rely on them.
What do all of the members who watch the Backstage show have in common? I've got an answer for this.
Oh, no.
I
Our undying
Every
gratitude.
single one of them is an extremis.
I would just say,
There's
just to
There's a
give
story for every one of them that could be made into a movie.
just to give this rich intellectual content the attention it deserves, I would ask all of those of you who are watching it to just tighten up the drip a little bit. I mean, just slow it down, because that'll allow you to really sort of absorb some of these deep thoughts that we're sharing here.
Or you could make a lifetime, estate donation to BillWhittle.com. In which case, after that, you could just crank it up. Just open.
Sure. Turn it up to 11.
Yeah, go for it.
There's no reason why you should have to endure this pain, and certainly no longer than now. For Bill Whittle and Stephen Green, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks to the members for making this happen.